Today we're going to look at the distributive property with polynomials, so multiplying polynomials. And we're specifically going to look at multiplying a monomial times a polynomial. Now this is something you've actually been doing for forever because it's just the basic distributive property, which means 3 is a monomial and x minus 8 is a polynomial, a binomial, right? And we can multiply these by just distributing the 3 to each piece. So we take 3 times x, which gives us 3x. And we take 3 times negative 8, which gives us a negative 24. Now, the reminder that we need today is that when we multiply with exponents, we have to add the exponents. So we're still going to use that distributive property, right? It's just that now what we have sitting in front is something that has a variable. So we're still going to distribute this 2x to each piece, but when we distribute it, we need to add the exponents. So if we take 2x times x squared, right, we're really multiplying the coefficients in front. So this has a 1, so 2 times 1 gives us 2. And then we are adding the exponents. So this has an exponent of 1, so 1 plus 2 gives us 3. Right, then we're going to multiply to the next piece. 2x times a positive 5, right? Does not matter that one has an x and one does not. 2 times 5 gives us 10, and that x comes along with it. And so our final answer will be 2x to the third plus 10x. So if we look at number 6, I don't know why I numbered this as number 6, but the second example, my numbers got off. All right, so if I take 7 times 4, and then y times y to the third, right? So I'm going to add those exponents. 7 times 4 gives me 28. And then I'm adding my exponents. 1 plus 3 gives me 4. Then I'm going to take 7 times negative 3, which gives me a negative 21. And that y comes along with it. That y does not go away. Now, this polynomial here can be as many terms as we want. It doesn't always have to be 2 terms. We can distribute to as many terms as we want to. So if I take 4a times a squared, right, if you really want that coefficient in front, that's a 1. So 4 times 1 gives us 4. And then we add the exponents. 1 plus 2 gives us 3. Then we're going to take 4 times 14. I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to check. This gives us a 56. And again, we're going to add exponents. 1 plus 1 gives us 2, so 56a squared. And a 4 times a negative 2, which gives us a negative 8. And that a comes along with it. So I look at my next one. Again, you could think about this as 1m squared. If you want that coefficient in front, you don't have to. So we start distributing. So 1 times 16 is 16. We add the exponents. 2 plus 5 gives us 7. 1 times negative 10 is negative 10. And then I add the exponents. 2 plus 3 gives me 5. And I go to the next piece. 1 times positive 3 is positive 3. I add the exponents. 2 plus 1 gives me 3. 1 times negative 9 is negative 9. M squared. Now what we need to understand is that sometimes there can be more than one variable. So if there's more than one variable, we are still adding the exponents. We just need to make sure we are adding exponents on things that have the same base, the same letter. So if I look at example 9 and I want to distribute xy to both of these pieces, right? I can fill in this really has a coefficient of 1. And this really has exponents of 1. So I'm taking 1 times 3, which gives me 3. And then I'm taking an x times an x, right? So if I add those exponents, that gives me x squared. That y to the first still comes along. Doesn't go away. Then I'm taking a 1 times a negative 5, which gives me a negative 5. Okay, so this x to the first comes along. 1 plus 1 gives me 2. I cannot combine these because these are not matching labels, right? This has x squared and this just has x, so there's no adding or subtracting those. Number 10, when I distribute, 10 times 3 is 30. And then I add my exponents. 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, then I go to my next one. 10 times negative 17 is negative 170. 1 plus 1 is 2, but this also has a y to the third, so that y to the third tags along. It does not disappear. And number 11. So if I distribute here, negative 13 times 2 gives me a negative 26. My c's can go together, so 2 plus 4 gives me 6, and 3 plus 1 gives me 4. Then I have negative 13 times negative 5. So 2 negatives make a positive. Use a calculator if you need to. That will give us a positive 65. So if I add, 2 plus 1 gives me 3. That d to the third just tags along. It does not go away. It is still part of it. Oftentimes when students look at this example like number 12, what they want to do is deal with this negative exponent first. But my suggestion is always to distribute first, because often the negative will take care of itself. And I'll show you what I mean here. So when we distribute, 9 times 3 is 27. Not 2x, 27. Try that again. All right, and then I add my exponents. 3 plus negative 2 is positive 1. And 1 plus 1 is 2. Then I go here, right? 9 times 1 is 9. 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so now when I do 1 plus a negative 1, that gives me a 0. So I don't need to write that m down. M to the 0 power is just 1. There's no m's. I don't need to write that down. So I guess what I'll finally say, see, look, all the negative exponents are gone, so there was no other issue, so this is our final answer. Okay, so if we look at number 13, 5 times 3 is 15. A to the first and a squared is a to the third. B squared. 5 times 5 is 25. A and A give me a squared. B squared and B give me B to the third. 5 times 8 gives me 40. A just comes along. B squared times B squared gives me B to the fourth. Then last one, if we distribute, 10 times 2 gives me 20. Okay, so A's can go together, so 1 plus 1 is 2. B's, 1 plus 1 is 2. And that C just comes along. All right, then we're going to the next one. 10 times 3 is 30. 1 plus 1 is 2, so an A squared. There's no other B's, so the B just comes along. 1 plus 1 is 2 for my C's, so that's the C squared. Okay, then 10 times negative 4 is negative 40. A and A is A squared. B and B is B squared. C just comes along. Now, realistically speaking for today, you could just leave this as your final answer, but here is the next step we are going to start to consider. These two pieces have the same label, right? A squared, B squared, C. A squared, B squared, C. Which means these terms can technically be combined. So 20 minus 40 is a negative 20. A squared, B squared, C, plus a 30. A squared, B, C squared would technically be your final answer. Ideally, we can get to this point. This would be the extra cherry on top.